Imagine a boy who has everything, money, mansion, luxury cars, but still lives like a prisoner. Not because of chains, but because of fear. A fear so deep it locked him inside his own home for more than a year. This is Daniel's story. He was the only son of billionaire Richard Hale. From the outside, Daniel's life looked perfect, but the truth was darker. 1 year ago, a tragic car accident stole his best friend's life right before his eyes. Daniel survived, but his heart did not. Since that night, he could not step outside, not even into the garden. The world beyond the door felt like a nightmare waiting to drag him back into that rainy night. The screech of tires, the crash of gray system, the silence of death. His father tried everything. Doctors, therapists, even expensive schools online. But money could not heal the invisible wound. Daniel had locked himself away, afraid, broken, and drowning in guilt. But fate always finds its own way. It started on an ordinary afternoon. Daniel sat by his window staring at nothing when a sound pulled him out of his emptiness. Laughter. Wild, unpolished laughter. At the far corner of the mansion's garden, a boy had slipped in through the broken fence. Thin, clearly poor. But instead of hiding, he was dancing, not graceful, not trained, just pure, fearless joy. Daniel froze. He hadn't smiled in months. Yet here he was, watching a stranger spin in the dust, arms wide open as if he owned the sky. And for the first time in a year, Daniel's chest felt a little lighter. The boy noticed him. Their eyes met. He grinned, bowed like a performer, and kept dancing. Daniel felt something stir inside him, something he thought he had lost forever. Hope. And from that moment, Daniel's silent prison began to crack. Daniel stood there frozen in place, his mind racing faster than it had in months. The boy's wide brown eyes, filled with both defiance and fear, were locked on his. For a long second, neither of them moved. The garden around them was silent, except for the faint rustle of leaves carried by the wind. Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. He had caught the stranger who had been slipping past the gates and dancing in his garden. The world told him to be angry, to call security, to send the intruder away. But something deep inside whispered otherwise. "You," Daniel finally said, his voice low but steady. "What's your name?" The boy's lips parted as if the question itself surprised him. His shoulders hunched slightly, as though he expected a blow instead of kindness. "Leo," he muttered after a pause. Daniel studied him, the dirt smudged across his cheek, the way his oversized shirt hung awkwardly from his bony frame, the scars on his knees that told a story of survival. "And what were you doing here, Leo?" Daniel asked again, softer this time. Leo swallowed hard. "I wasn't trying to steal. I saw the lights. I heard music from inside. And He pointed toward the mansion window where Daniel's younger sister sometimes sat watching the world. "She looked so broken. I just wanted to make her laugh." Daniel felt his chest tighten. His little sister, Layla, hadn't smiled in months since the accident. And yet this boy, this stranger from the streets, had found a way to reach her. He should have been furious, but instead Daniel felt a strange pull. There was honesty in Leo's trembling voice, an innocence in his words that cut deeper than any rehearsed apology could. "You risked sneaking past guards, just to dance for her?" Daniel asked, disbelief in his tone. Leo's eyes flickered to the ground. "Dancing is the only thing I'm good at. And when I dance, I forget. I forget the hunger, the cold, the things people call me. For a moment, it feels like I'm more than nothing. And when she laughed, I thought maybe she forgot too." Daniel didn't reply immediately. He looked at this boy, really looked. Leo was not just some street win. He was a fighter, a survivor, someone who, despite having nothing, carried inside him the power to bring joy where even doctors and wealth had failed. For the first time in months, Daniel felt something stir in him, a fragile sense of possibility. "Come back tomorrow," Daniel said suddenly. Leo's head snapped up. "What?" "I said come back tomorrow. If you can make her smile again, then maybe—" Daniel trailed off, unsure what he was even offering. "Maybe you belong here more than you think." Leo blinked, stunned. He expected punishment, not permission. "You really mean it?" Daniel nodded, though doubt clouded his mind. "Yes, but understand this." His tone hardened slightly. "If you lie to me," If you hurt her, if this is some trick, you'll regret stepping foot here. I'm not lying, Leo said quickly, his voice breaking with urgency. I swear, I just wanted to help. And in that moment, Daniel believed him. The next day arrived heavy with tension. Daniel found himself waiting near the garden earlier than usual, his stomach knotted. Would Leo really return? Or had he imagined the sincerity in the boy's eyes? As the afternoon sun dipped low, Daniel heard a faint rustle near the hedge. Out stepped Leo, barefoot as before, his clothes even more worn, but his grin wide and unshaken. You came, Daniel said quietly, more to himself than to Leo. Of course I came, Leo replied with a shrug. I promised her a show. Daniel's lips almost curved into a smile, though he quickly masked it. He led Leo toward the garden where Layla sat waiting, her wheelchair positioned so the light bathed her golden hair. Her eyes lit up the moment she saw Leo. You're back, she squealed, clapping her hands together. Leo bowed dramatically. A promise is a promise. Within moments, the garden was alive again with movement and laughter. Leo spun, flipped, exaggerated his steps, and every time he stumbled on purpose, Layla laughed so hard she nearly tipped forward in her chair. But this time, Daniel didn't watch from a distance. He sat close, his gaze shifting between his sister's radiant face and Leo's tireless energy. For months, he had poured money into hospitals and therapies, only to watch Layla sink deeper into despair. And now, here was a boy with nothing but bare feet and a gift of movement, doing what millions of dollars couldn't. A question gnawed at Daniel's heart. Why him? Why now? As the performance ended, Layla clapped wildly, cheeks flushed. Again, again, she begged. Leo grinned, sweat dripping down his forehead. Tomorrow. I'll save the best moves for tomorrow. Daniel stepped forward, his voice gentle but firm. Leo. The boy looked at him cautiously. You're not just dancing here anymore, Daniel said. You're changing something inside her. And inside me, too. But if you're going to keep coming, I need to know more. Where do you live? Who takes care of you? The brightness in Leo's eyes dimmed. His shoulders sagged. I don't live anywhere. Sometimes at the bus stop, sometimes under the bridge. I just find places. Daniel's throat tightened. He had expected poverty, but not this level of abandonment. He glanced at his sister, who was staring at Leo with wide, sympathetic eyes. Then from now on, Daniel said firmly, surprising even himself, you'll find your place here. Leo froze. Here? You mean inside this mansion? Daniel nodded. You've given us something priceless, Leo. Hope. And no one who gives that deserves to sleep on cold concrete. Leo's lips trembled, as though he wanted to argue but couldn't. For the first time, he felt seen, not as a homeless boy, not as a shadow on the street, but as someone who mattered. Layla beamed. Does that mean you're my friend forever now? She asked, her voice full of innocent certainty. Leo looked at her, then at Daniel. Slowly he smiled, a smile that carried both gratitude and disbelief. Yeah, he whispered, forever. The next morning arrived with golden sunlight spilling into the mansion, bouncing off polished floors and ornate furniture. Daniel woke earlier than usual, restless. The events of the previous day replayed in his mind. Leo's laugh, Layla's wide-eyed excitement, and the tiny sparks of courage flickering inside himself that he hadn't felt in months. He hurried to the garden, unsure what he would find. True to form, Leo was already there, barefoot, practicing spins and flips with fluidity and determination that defied his young age. Each movement was raw, unpolished, but full of emotion, as though every scar he carried could be translated into a dance step. Layla watched from her wheelchair, clapping enthusiastically whenever Leo landed a difficult move. Her laughter, bright, free, and unrestrained, was a sound Daniel had nearly forgotten existed. And with every peal of her joy, Daniel felt a weight lift off his chest, a heaviness that had lingered since the accident. Morning, Daniel, Leo said, pausing mid-spin. His chest heaved with exertion, but his eyes sparkled. I thought I'd get a few more perfect moves before breakfast. Daniel smiled, though it was faint at first. You never stop, do you? Leo shrugged. I have to keep moving. If I stop, I remember everything I've lost. but when I dance, I feel like I'm alive. I feel like I belong somewhere. Daniel's gaze softened. He knew that feeling well. You do belong, more than you know. For a long moment, they watched each other, two boys from completely different worlds, bound together by invisible threads of hope, grief, and resilience. The garden became their sanctuary, a place where the past could be acknowledged without controlling the present. As the afternoon sun climbed higher, Daniel decided to take a risk. Leo, I want you to perform in front of someone else, just one person, someone who hasn't seen your dancing yet. Leo blinked, uncertainty flickering across his face. Someone else? Who? My father, Daniel admitted quietly. He's he's cautious. He doesn't trust easily. But I think if he sees what you can do, he'll understand why you're here, why you belong. Leo hesitated, then nodded slowly. There was a vulnerability in his acceptance, a reminder that courage often comes wrapped in fear. The moment came that evening. The mansion's grand dining room, usually reserved for formal dinners and business discussions, transformed into an impromptu stage. Daniel's father, Richard Hale, sat stiffly at one end of the table, a mask of skepticism on his face. Leo stepped forward, bare feet pressing against the polished marble, eyes fixed on Layla, who sat beside Daniel, radiating encouragement. The music started, soft at first, then swelling with energy, and Leo danced. Every step told a story. Each twirl, each leap, each stumble reflected a life of struggle, survival, and raw emotion. Daniel watched his father's expression change from doubt to amazement. Layla's cheers echoed in the room, intertwining with the silent awe of Richard Hale. By the end, Leo stood panting, sweat dripping from his forehead, but triumphant. The room was quiet for a heartbeat, then filled with applause. Daniel felt a surge of pride and relief, seeing the boy who had transformed their lives, being accepted in a world that once seemed inaccessible. Richard Hale rose slowly, a rare smile on his face. Well, it's just, I can see why my son insists on keeping you around. Leo's eyes glimmered with tears, not from sadness, but from the first taste of acknowledgement he had ever received. The next morning, a quiet tension hung in the mansion. Leo practiced alone in the hall, each movement precise, deliberate, almost meditative. Daniel watched him from the doorway, realizing how much the boy had grown, not just in skill, but in confidence and presence. Leo, Daniel called softly, you've inspired more than you know. Leo paused mid-step, sweat glistening on his forehead, and gave a small, shy smile. I'm trying, he admitted, trying to be more than what people think I am. Daniel nodded. And you are. Every move, every spin, it tells your story. It shows courage, resilience, and heart. Downstairs, Layla clapped from her wheelchair, her eyes shining. She had been Leo's anchor, and now she watched him soar in ways that words couldn't describe. Later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the mansion glowed in warm light. Daniel realized that this journey was just beginning, for Leo, for Layla, and for himself. They had all found strength in each other, a reminder that even in the darkest times, hope could take shape, breathe life, and change everything. The mansion, once silent and rigid, now felt alive, echoing with laughter, determination, and the promise of new beginnings. Daniel watched Leo dance under the soft glow of the mansion lights. Every spin, every leap, carried not just movement but emotion, pain, loss, hope, and resilience all intertwined. Layla clapped from her wheelchair, her laughter ringing like a bell that melted the last traces of silence that had haunted the house for months. Bravo, she shouted, her eyes shining with pure joy. Daniel couldn't help but smile, a rare warmth breaking through the shadows that had lived in him since the accident. Leo's bare feet touched the marble tiles with purpose, each step a story of survival and triumph. The audience, family, friends, even skeptics, watched in stunned silence. This was more than dancing. It was proof that strength and hope could rise from the most unexpected places. Marcus, who had sneered days ago, now stood pale, powerless against the truth unfolding in front of him. After the final spin, Leo stood breathless, tears streaming down his cheeks. Daniel stepped forward, placing a steady hand on his shoulder. See, you've changed everything, he said softly. Leo smiled, not just for applause, but because he finally felt seen, valued, and at home. Layla hugged Leo tightly. "You're family now," she whispered. Daniel nodded, knowing that money, status, and fear no longer mattered. What mattered was love, courage, and connection. Weeks later, life in the mansion thrived. Leo practiced daily, Layla painted, and Daniel finally felt the freedom he had been missing. Their bond, born from pain, survival, and hope, was unbreakable. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Somewhere, someone needs this reminder. Hope can come from the most unexpected places, and family isn't just blood, it's love, trust, and courage.